I really like the Chucky movies. Making a 6-part video series about them was maybe a giveaway. But any given franchise has its low point. Or maybe even a never-ending series of low points. Oh god, Dimension, what have you done? Child's Play 3 is probably Chucky's low point. I'm not alone in thinking this. Don Mancini and Brad Dourif have both said it's their least favorite. But I'm not going to spend the next several minutes just trashing it because there are other channels for that sort of thing. Instead, I'm going to borrow a bit The Simpsons did right after the movie's release.
That's good.
And in the process, probably agitate Fox's copyright division.
That's bad.
When Universal Studios picked up the rights to the Child's Play franchise, they started churning out sequels very quickly. They either thought that slasher sequels were a never-ending gravy train, they were not, or they saw the end coming like a speeding bus. In any case, they released Child's Play 3 a scant 9 months after Child's Play 2. They had poor Don Mancini cranking out the screenplay while the second one was still in post. They got a guy named Jack Bender to direct it, and you may not know who he is because he's mostly a TV director. At the time, the most notable thing he'd ever done was probably a show called Falcon Crest, but he eventually went on to do episodes of The Sopranos, Lost, and Game of Thrones, including, get ready to have your mind blown, an episode called The Door. Yeah, that episode. Do you need a second? Because I need a second. Oh. The back-to-back sequel releases made Chucky an official part of the zeitgeist, which meant it was time for The Simpsons. Are you kidding me right now? No. It was time for The Simpsons to make a reference to him. And this was like peak Simpsons, from one of those seasons people still quote.
Dental plan!
Lisa needs braces.
Dental plan!
Lisa needs braces.
In their annual Treehouse of Horror special, Homer wanders into a Gremlins-esque curiosity shop, where the owner sells him on a Krusty the Clown doll in this classic exchange.
Take this object, but beware, it carries a terrible curse.
Ooh, that's bad.
But it comes with a free Frogut.
That's good.
The Frogut is also cursed.
That's bad.
But you get your choice of topping.
That's good.
The toppings contain potassium benzoate. That's bad.
Can I go now?
I was reminded of this while rewatching Child's Play 3 because for all its good qualities, there seem to be bad qualities in equal measure. I'll show you. It has a really cool title sequence in which they run film of a melting wax Chucky head in reverse.
That's good.
In fact, it's so cool it's nearly the most creative thing in the entire movie.
That's bad.
OCP/Mattel/PlayPals once again inadvertently resurrects Chucky by restarting the good guy line. The executives sit around in a literal smoke-filled room saying things like, "The bottom line is the bottom line," and "What are children but consumer trainees?" This is weapons-grade satire.
That's good.
And it's the last time we ever see this aspect of the series.
That's bad.
You want more Chucky? We get him right away.
That's good.
This is the first thing he says.
Don't fuck with the Chuck!
That's bad.
Andy is back, and he's been shipped to the interesting new locale of Kent Military School.
That's good.
This movie takes place a few years after the last one, so this time he's played by Justin Whalen. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but the character hasn't really changed or evolved since his second bout with the Lakeshore Strangler. I'll get into that more later, but...
That's bad.
A character named Whitehurst is introduced, and while he's initially a spineless sack of crap that everyone dumps on, it pays off big when he selflessly throws himself on a live grenade.
That's good.
It is kind of a tough road to hoe because Whitehurst has also got to be the most annoying character in the entire series.
That's bad.
De Silva is introduced, and she is awesome. She doesn't take any shit from secondary antagonist Lieutenant Colonel Douchebro, and she teaches Andy how to shoot a gun. At this point, it's safe to say Don Mancini is a fan of kick-ass female characters who are smarter and more capable than the male lead. Sorry, Andy. Twice is a coincidence, 3 is a pattern.
That's good.
It's just a shame she's also given scenes like this.
Listen. Somebody's out there.
It's probably just a chipmunk or something.
Nothing scares you, does it?
No.
That's bad.
And also that she grows up to marry Ari Gold.
That's bad.
Andrew Robinson jumped over from the Hellraiser franchise.
That's good.
He plays a barber with a super questionable predilection for shaving kids' heads.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. We're seeing some skin now, aren't we?
That's bad.
Okay, that's fun and all, but let's move on so I can talk about some larger issues in a meaningful way. And by meaningful, I mean with faint sarcasm and pop culture references. First off, Chucky is still Chucky. He leaps at every chance to kill absolutely anyone who crosses his path, regardless of the consequences. Trash guy does his job? That's a killin'. General tosses him in the trash? Twice? That's a killin'. Barber gonna shave his head? You better believe that's a killin'. The degree to which you view this as a positive or negative depends entirely upon how you view acute slasher syndrome. Acute slasher syndrome, you ask? What's that? Is it serious? Here's the doctor to explain. Acute slasher syndrome, or ASS, is a disorder common amongst horror movie villains, characterized by a single-minded obsession with murdering people over perceived grievances. In certain cases, ASS also presents with compulsive punning, or bad one-liners. They're basically an 80s action hero, minus the morality of a G.I. Joe PSA. Sorry, I spent far too much time this month in hospitals and also watching House. If you've ever done either of these, you know that what I'm describing is not actually acute, it's chronic, but CSS isn't nearly as fun an acronym. The bottom line is, in Child's Play 3, Chucky is still pretty much a two-dimensional character, and you're either fine with that or you're not. But his sole motivation, Coral, is still getting his soul into a human body. The wrinkle this time is that he realizes he's in a brand new doll body, courtesy of PlayPals, which means he can tell his secret to a brand new kid. Or, I mean, this movie takes place in 1997. He could have gone and told his true identity to Peak Leo, or Brad, or Denzel, but who am I to judge? Instead, Chucky reveals his true identity to the very first kid to cross his path, Tyler. Tyler is young Andy all over again, right down to the dopey look on his face when he sees a Good Guy commercial, and an eagerness to play hide the soul with his new buddy Charles.
Just think, Chucky's gonna be a bro.
Oh my god, Chucky, that is not okay. Anyway, Andy is now playing the role of Tyler's erstwhile protector, and that is different for him, but it's not... Actually, I'm still not ready to get into that, but soon, I promise. All of this kind of climaxes with the school's big war game, in which the students are divided into teams and marched into the woods to shoot each other with red and blue paint rounds. Unbeknownst to them, Chucky has replaced all the red cartridges with live ammunition. I've always thought this was one of the best ideas Mancini has ever come up with. Jason and Freddy have done a lot of insane things over the years, but never give 24 kids loaded weapons insane. It's a whole new level of dick move, even if the only resulting casualty is Lieutenant Colonel Douchebro. I say the movie kind of climaxes with the big war game because it feels like in any universe where the laws of filmmaking naturally apply, this would be the movie's third act. Like, all the parts should come together there, with Andy and Chucky fighting over Tyler's soul on a literal battlefield, complete with bullets and grenades and maybe some mines, but it doesn't. I'm a little baffled by it, especially since the real climax takes place at a carnival in the middle of the woods? What the fuck? See, once Tyler finally catches on that Chucky is a gaping asshole, he runs to this carnival that happens to be nearby, where the worst security guard on Earth presents him with a Good Guy doll he just found lying around. That's a killin'. So Andy and De Silva go after them, and there's a big battle for Tyler's soul in a haunted house ride. Like, this big elaborate carnival ride with animatronic ghouls and shit. Yeah. At first glance, it seems like this is a complete departure from the rest of the movie's theme, but I guess it's not totally. There is some gunplay involved, and Andy does have to climb a hill while explosions go off around him, and there's an actual Grim Reaper looming over the whole thing. I suppose when you look at it that way, that's kind of warlike? I don't know, maybe that's a stretch. I will say this about the whole thing, there's a moment when the animatronic Reaper takes half of Chucky's face off, and Two-Face Chucky is the coolest special effect in the entire franchise by several miles, IMO, FYI, IDK, and my BFF chill. I think if you asked most people what stuck out as being Child's Play 3's biggest problem, they'd talk about the movie's hard left into the carnival, but I respectfully disagree. I think the biggest problem is, now I'm getting to it, Andy's lack of character evolution between parts 2 and 3. See, while Andy is in a new role as Tyler's de facto guardian, he's still essentially the same Andy we saw in part 2. He's still the doe-eyed kid who initially pisses himself at the sight of a good guy doll before overcoming his fear and killing Chucky. The story has progressed, but he has not. Allow me, if I may be so bold, to present an alternate narrative. In the time since Child's Play 2, Andy has gone full Sarah Connor. He's never fit in anywhere because he spends all his time stockpiling kitchen knives or whatever for what he imagines to be Chucky's inevitable return. So he's sent to military school, which is fine by him because it's an opportunity to learn some new combat/survival skills. Chucky mails himself there, and upon finding that Andy is no longer an easy target, he sets his eyes on Tyler, whom Andy must then protect. Andy and Chucky are then both equally formidable forces at war with one another on a literal battlefield over the soul of young, innocent Tyler. It's throughout this conflict that Andy must confront who he was in contrast to who he has become, and ultimately come to grieve the premature death of his own childhood while ensuring that the same fate does not befall Tyler. But that's just something that occurred to me. Maybe you like the movie the way it is, and that sort of brings me around to my final point. Sometimes when you watch a movie, you'll notice things and think,
That's good.
And you'll notice other things and think,
That's bad.
And those things might be very different for different people. No movie is going to be the same thing for everyone. It's true, sometimes I like to make blanket statements about a movie being piping hot garbage, but it's like 80% for comedic effect. Despite Child's Play 3's flaws, I know for a fact there are people who love it, and that doesn't mean they're wrong or that they have bad taste, because, say it with me, art is subjective. We all take away different things from different works of art, and that's completely okay. Except for Jason Goes to Hell. Fuck that movie. So that's Child's Play 3. If you're still with me at this point, you ought to subscribe because Bride of Chucky is where shit gets really interesting. Friends till the end, take care now. Bye bye then.